Hello guys, welcome back to the Quantity Surveyor workshop. In today's video on our series for how to use PlanSwift to carry out your measurement, I am going to be showing you how to create a template for column pit excavation and trench excavation. In our previous video, we've already done how to go about creating a template for your removal of trees, site clearance and removal of topsoil. So without any further ado, let's start the video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is to scale your drawing. As you can see, our drawing has not been scaled, and like I said in our previous video, whenever you have a drawing, the first thing you need to do is to scale the drawing. So all we're going to be doing now to scale the drawing is to go to this scale tool here, click on scale, make sure it's on metric, and then impute one of the dimensions that you have in the drawing into this place in meters. So let us use, for example, let's use one of this. You can see we have 3,943 millimeters. So what we just need to do is to come here and put 3,943 millimeters in meters is 3.943. and you click on OK. So you come here, you can hold M to magnify, click, and then move to the other points. And click. So you can see that we've already scaled this. But one thing about me is that I like to scale both vertically and horizontally. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to find another dimension and scale. Let's use this one, 2,545. So click on scale, convert it to meters, that's 2.545, right? And you click OK. So what you just need to do now is to dimension it. So you can click on magnify to centralize, click, then move to the next point. And then you click. So you can see now that our drawing has been scaled. So the first template we're going to be creating is for column pit excavation. So like always, you go to your templates tab, click on it, and after this templates tab is going to pop up, then you go to your tab menu, you click on your tutorials, like the tab that you created for your templates. Like this is the name I gave the tab in our previous video. So you can see this is the taking off list that we've already created. So the next thing now we're going to be creating is template is for column pit excavation. Now I am going to be teaching you two ways you can go about creating templates for column pit excavation. So I want you to pay attention while this video is going on, because this video is going to be very rich in information. So you all know that the units for measuring column pit excavation is in cubic meters, right? Meaning volume. And like I said before, when you want to measure for anything volume, there is no particular tool here that is specifically for volume. So we have to be wise and use the area tool. So all you just need to do now is to click on new area. The pop-up screen is going to pop up. Rename it to column pit excavation. Then you choose a color you want it to be. Let me just say I want it to be red. So you go to your advanced. Now in this advanced, now we are going to be creating a new property called depth. Remember, I have already explained what this taking off means in our previous video. So if you want to refresh your memory, you can go back and watch that video. So like I said before, we are going to be creating a new property called depth, because remember, formula for volume is length times breadth times height. So we can also see that length times breadth is area. So area times height or depth will give us volume. So since we're using the area tool, all we just need to do is to create a new property called our height or depth, and then multiply this our takeoff here with that new property and change the units to cubic meter. Whatever we are going to be calculating is going to change to cubic meters. I hope that makes sense. So how do we create the new property? If you go to the top here, you can see add property. Just click, a tab is going to pop up, so you're going to call that depth. So when you do that, you go to group. Where do you want this depth tab, this new property, to be opened? We want it to be opened in our takeoff data, so click on it and press OK. Now you can see that a new property has been created called depth. Change the units. You can see this is the column for input units, so the unit should be in meters, right? Good. So now remember that anytime you want to measure and you click on if you look at the taking off list, you click on any of the taking off tool in our template, a property tab is going to open, right, for you to select the color that you want to use. So what we want is that anytime that property tab opens, we want this depth to be part of it, so that we can calculate what is the depth of the column pit and then impute it in the property tab. So let me just go to form. You see what I'm talking about. So if I go to form now, you can see that this is our property tab. Now you can see we have column, we have field type. We want another a menu to be inside that is going to be showing us our depth. So if I go back to advanced, right, go back to our depth. For us to make our depth show in that property tab, you see this check button here. All you just need to do is to click on it, make sure it is checked. So if I go back to my form, right, you can see now that depth is showing. So let's go back to advanced. Now remember, I told you in our previous video that PlanSwift helps us to tweak the formula that has been inherent into the software to meet our requirements. So because we are trying to find volume, now you see that this formula that we have here in quantity, right, all we just need to do now, like I said before, this takeoff that you see here, it means it is taking off for the tool that you've picked. And what tool did we pick? We picked the area tool. So it means that this takeoff means area, but you are trying to find volume. So like I said before, volume now in this case can be area times depth. So all you just need to do now is to click on this formula section here on the quantity tab, and then you see this place that you have asterisk in computer language means multiplication. So you enter multiplication. So the place where you dropped that depth, right, you carry it, go there, this is it, copy and move it to the quantity tab there. So now you can see what we have here, right, you paste it. So now we have takeoff times depth. So now since we have takeoff times depth, it means that whatever it is going to be solving will be in cubic meters. So now all you just need to do now is to change the units, change the units to cubic meters. So just click on it and move down cubic meters here, and you click on OK. So now let's try and measure. Go to the home page. Now this is our foundation layout, right? So before we measure, one thing I like to do for accuracy is to dimension all the column pits that we have here, so that it will give me a reference to snap, a reference point to either snap or select a point accurately. Before you start dimensioning, go to your drawing and check what are the dimensions of each of your column pits, right? So from our drawing, we have Okay, let me just go to the column based details. Right, you can see what we have here. We have column base type 1, 2, 3, 4 and what 5, right? So what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be measuring only our base type 1 to make the video faster. So what can you see now? They told us that the units or the dimension of base type 1 is what 1.2 by 1.2 meters. So all I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to go and be looking for all the base type 1 inside our foundation layout, and I'm going to be dimensioning it. So just give me a second. So click on the dimension tool, look for base type 1 in this drawing, and then dimension. So this is base type 1, base type 1, base type 1, this is base type 1. So what I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to zoom, click, and then dimension 1.2. So the next one now you're going to be doing is for the vertical side. So click on dimension. So you see that it has given us a reference point, so click on it and then make sure that it is 1.2 meters, 1.2. So this is how you go about it. So just give me a second, let me dimension all the base type 1s in the drawing. Okay, so after dimensioning all the base type 1s we have in our drawing, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 base type 1s with a dimension of 1.2 by 1.2. So now the next thing now we need to do now is to determine what our depth is, the depth of this column pit, right? So all you just need to do now is this. You can see that this is section through AA. This is sectioning the foundation trench, not the column pit. So all you just need to do is to go to your column details, right? Since we are in our column details now, all we just need to do is this. Now you can see now that they told us that from our top of the oversized concrete down to the top of the column footing is 1,350, and we know that from our column base here, the design says that the thickness of the column base or the column footing is 350 mm, and the thickness of the blinding is 50 mm. So if you go to your column details, all we can do now is to add 1,350, 350 and 50 together. So 1,350 plus 350 plus 50 is equal to 1,750. So it means that from this point here down to the bottom of the blinding is 1,750. But remember that we've already removed 150 mm for our topsoil. So what we're going to be doing now is that we're going to be minusing 150 mm, which is our thickness of our topsoil. So if I go to my calculator now, we've already calculated 1,750 minus 150 is equal to 1,600. So it means that our actual depth from the stripped level down to the bottom of the blinding is 1,600. So now we go back to our foundation layout and then we measure. So now if I go to my template, right, this column pit excavation is supposed to be moved. So like I said before, you adjust it with the adjustment tool that we have here. So you just move to the right, move to the right again. So you can see now that it is inside our checklist, right? So now if I go to my home page, right, I want to measure for column pit excavation. So we are starting with column pit 1. So click on the green button. Now you can see that our depth is showing, and we've already calculated our depth to be 1.60 in meters. So all we just need to do is to click on OK. So when we click on OK, now we can now zoom in and measure. So click on this snap tool on our dimension line, click on the next one, click on this, click on this, and then escape. Right, so you move to the next one now. For us to continue now, like I said before, you can see that column pit excavation for just that first column that we have here, we've already gotten was 2.3 cubic meters for only one. So let's just try and solve it manually. Let's see if we're going to get 2.30. So we know that our dimension now for this base type 1 is what, 1.2 by 1.2, then the depth is 1.6. so let's solve. So if I cancel this, 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.6 is equal to what, 2.304. and what do we have here, 2.3 cubic meters. So you can see that we are correct. So now for us to continue our measurement now, all we just need to do is to click on that button, the green button on this our bookmark tab here. You can see column pit excavation that we've already measured for only one. So we'll now continue like that, continue measuring, click. You can use this as reference point, click, and then click, you press what, escape. So you continue again by clicking this green button, click, click, use this as reference point, click, click, and you press what, escape. So the next one is this one. So you do the same thing, click on the green button, click, click, use this as reference point, click, click, and you press what, escape. So you now do the last one, which is this one here. So continue again, right, click, 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 and you press what, escape. So you can see that the summation of all the volumes for our what, column pit 1 is equal to what, 11.5 cubic meters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I go to my calculator now, 2.30 is the volume for 1. So if I multiply it by 5, multiply it by 5, we're going to be having what, 11.52. and what do we have here, column pit excavation, 11.52 cubic meters. So after we're done with column pit 1, so the next thing you're going to be doing now is column pit 2. So all you just need to do now is to find for all the base type 2, that's the column pit 2, and then dimension them. After dimensioning them like we've done here, all you just need to do is to go here and continue. So let me just use for example now, you can see this is base type 2, right? All you just need to do is to what, dimension it. So if you go here, find for a suitable point, dimension, make sure it is 1.2 meters, dimension. So we are going to be dimensioning all the base type 2. So dimension, so I can use this as a reference point, right? Left click to show this stuff, and then right click on the background. So it will snap when it's showing green. Please take note of that. So you snap down, and then you find the suitable points, and you want to click. So from here now, you can now what, make sure it is what, 1.2 meters. Okay, so you dimension the vertical portion, make sure it is 1.2 on the dot. You can zoom in to be precise. So this is 1.2, and then escape. So just give me a few minutes so that I can dimension all the base type 2. So as you can see, we've already what, dimensioned all our what, column type what, 2, right? So all we just need to do now is this, continue the measurements of our what, column pits, as we have already started before with column type 1. So you can see that column pit excavation here, 11.5 cubic meters, which is for all the what column type 1 that we've measured. So now we want to continue the measurement for column type 2, right? So all we're just going to be doing now is that we're going to be clicking this, and then we'll be measuring all the column type 2 that we have here. It is going to be adding up. Now this particular method or approach is ideal when you have different sizes of column pits. There's another approach you can use when the column pits are all the same dimension. I am going to be showing you how to go about that later on in this video, but I need you to understand this. This is a much more elaborate, means. This template I'm showing you now is much more better, right? Because you can use it in a case where the column pits are the same sizes, and in a case where the column pits are different sizes. So now let's continue. I want to measure for what column type 2. So all you just need to do now is to go here, click on this to continue the measurement. So now all you just need to do now is to follow the snap points and click, and then click. So after that, you press escape. It has increased to 13.8 cubic meters. So you continue doing it like that until you've measured everything. So you can see that after doing all the measurements for column type 1 and column type 2, you can see we have a total volume of 36.83 cubic meters. So you will continue this process until you are done with all the column base in the foundation layout. So if you go to our pages, you can see what we have here: 36.8 cubic meters. So this is the template for column pit excavation. And I'm going to be showing you another approach you can go about creating column pit excavation templates. So this is type 1. I'm going to be showing you type 2. So when it comes to the creation of the templates for column pit excavation, I told you that there are two types. I've just shown you how to do type 1. Now I'm going to be showing you how to go about type 2. Now you can use type 2 in a case when all the column pits in your foundation layout are the same size. It makes the work faster. However, the first approach is better when you have different sizes of column pits in your drawing. So let's begin. So now to create that particular type of template, now we go to the templates tab. Now click on our tab, which is this one we just formed, which is tutorials. So you can see our taking off list here, and this is our template that we created. You can see column pit excavation type 1. So now we want to create type 2. So like we did before, column pit excavation is in volume, so we're going to be using area 2. Click on area and then rename it to be column pit excavation type 2. So select the color, let's just say yellow. So now you go to your advanced. Now you can see everything is okay. The takeoff, since its area is in square meters. So like we did before, we are going to be creating a new property called depth, the same way we did in the other this thing in the type 1. So we're going to name it depth, and I want this depth, this new property should be made in our takeoff data section, and then we'll click OK. So you can see it has been created. Now we are also going to be creating another new property, and this new property is going to be called number. So you come here, add property, and then you can name it number, let's just say NOS, and it should be created in the what takeoff data. You click on what OK. Now what we are going to be doing now first is to what change the units. So you can see that there's no unit here, so depth would be in what meters, and then numbers will be in what enumerated, which is EA. Good. So now the next thing we're going to be doing now is, if you go to our form tab here, that will show us our property tab, right? Like we did in our first templates for column pit excavation, we wanted a depth menu, a menu for depth to be showing in our property tab. However, in type 2, right, we want both our depth menu and our number menu to show here. Now that number menu that is going to be showing here serves as the number of that particular column pit in the drawing. So all you just need to do now is to go and count the number of that particular column pit in the drawing. Remember, I said before and I repeat, this particular type is ideal when the column pits in your drawing are the same sizes. So if you have 12 column pits, it means that all the 12 column pits should be, let's say for example, they should be spanning 1.2 meters by 1.2 meters by the same depth. Let's just say 1.2 by 1.2 by 1.6 meters, right? All the 12. There should be nothing like column type 1, column type 2 with different dimensions. All of them should be the same dimension. So now let's continue. How do we get our depth and our numbers menu to be on this property tab? Like I said before, you go back there to your advanced, right? Scroll to your takeoff data where those new properties were created, and then you see this place where we have depth. This check box, click on it, make sure it's checked. Then this numbers, this thing, make sure it is also what checked. So if you go back to our form tab, you can see now they are active, right? So all you just need to do now is to go back to advanced. Now you see this quantity that we have here. We are going to be doing a little tweak to the formula. So this takeoff means that we are measuring in area. We've created a new property called depth. So like we did before, we're going to be multiplying this takeoff by what? Depth. And then we're also going to be multiplying it by the number, because now takeoff times depth will give you what? The volume for one column pit. So since all the column pits are the same, we're not going to be multiplying it by the total number of column pits in the what? Drawing. I hope now you are getting the logic. That is the reason why we created two new properties for what? The depth and the what? Numbers. So all we're going to be doing now is we're going to be dragging, like copy and pasting this depth into the formula tab. So click, drag, click, hold and drag, right? Click, hold and drag to the quantity tab. So you can see in the estimating row here, underneath it we have quantity, so paste it here. You can see we have depth, right? So in between is, we want a multiplication sign, which is asterisk. So the next thing we're going to be putting back here is the number. So go back there, click and hold the number to copy, or to drag rather, that's the right word, to drag the numbers to the quantity tab. So paste. So you can see now this is our what? Formula. So takeoff is area times depth is what? Volume. So that's what, whatever it solves is going to give us the volume of one column pit. So whatever that is, it will be multiplied by the total number of that particular column pit in what? The drawing. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to be converting or changing the units to cubic meters. Cubic meters, and then you click on what? OK. So now let's test this. So for example, now let us just imagine that all the column types we have here is column type 1, and let's just imagine that let me count how many of this, because column type 1 in this drawing and column type 2, they are both the same dimension. So let me count them: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16. So let's just imagine that we have 16 number of column types 1, right? Because they are the same dimension. We're just imagining, right, that in this drawing we have only one size of column pits spanning 1.2 meters by 1.2 meters, and they are 16 in number. I can either do the measurement here, because we've already done some measurement here when we're measuring for the first type for our templates for column pit excavation. I'm going to be using this other drawing, which is column base. Now if you look at this now, you can see that this is it, base type 1. Well, assuming that it's only base type 1 that we have in this drawing, and they are 16 in number. So all you just need to do now is to come here, right, click on this to measure. So when you measure, you can see that this tool requires you to scale. So let's scale it first. So pick one dimension. So this dimension here is 1200. Convert it to meters, that's 1.2 meters, and you click on what? Okay. So all you just need to do now is to what? Click. So now that we've scaled this vertical side, I also like to scale another dimension. So let's just use this dimension here, 2296. So scale 2296 to meters will be 2.296, and you click on what? Okay. So now all you just need to do is to what? Dimension it. So centralize dimension, and then you click. So doing this, we've already what? Dimensioned. So doing this, we've already scaled our drawing. So all we just need to do now is to carry out the measurement. So you go to your templates tab, click on this column pit excavation type 2, right? Click on it, and you can see now we have our depth and we have our numbers. Now let's just say that our depth is the same as we use in the first type, which is 1.6 meters, right? And we counted that in this drawing there are how many numbers of column type 1. We assume that there are 16 in number, so 16. So all we just need to do now is to press what? Okay. So the first thing we're now going to be doing is we're going to be measuring. So snap, use it as a reference, click on your first point, make sure it is 1.2 meters. By 1.2 meters, and then you press escape. So now you can see now what we have here, 36.9 cubic meters, right? And in this one we had 36.8 cubic meters. So you can see that there is a similarity in our measurements, meaning that you can either choose any of them depending on the kind of depending on the type of column types you have. The first type is if there are different sizes of the column pits. Now the second one is ideal when the column pits are all the same size. Now just in case that you are saying that there's a little deviation in the two measurements, but the deviation is very minute. Now the reason for that deviation is because this particular, the first type, right, the snap tool, like I said before, is not as accurate as that of when you are using AutoCAD file. And you know that we have to click multiple column types, right? So there are going to be deviation. Sometimes when we are measuring, let's just say we're measuring the horizontal side, you can see that if you are watching closely, some of the horizontal measurement was 1.98, some of them was 1.2, but the system approximates it to what, 1.2 meters. So that is why we have a little deviation, but ideally it is supposed to be 36.86, because I calculated it manually with calculator and it gave me what, 36.864, approximately what, 36.86. However, a little 0.04 deviation will not kill anybody. So you can see that we are on the right track.